We're going to be talking about 6.7, the distributive property. We talked about this same exact thing yesterday, but I know it was a difficult topic for many people, so I want to kind of go over it again. We're going to do a lot of similar examples like we did yesterday, but you have a quiz coming up on Monday, and I want to make sure that you really understand this for your quiz. In red, it says the number outside the parentheses has to be multiplied by everything inside the parentheses. So remember, like yesterday when I distributed out candy to everyone, I made sure I was fair. I didn't just give it to just the girls or just the boys or just the people on the left half of the room or the right half of the room. I was fair and gave it to everyone. So just like that, when you're distributing numbers, you have to be fair and distribute the outside number to everything inside the parentheses. So go ahead and take your pencil and draw an arrow. If you are multiplying A times B, you're going to get AB. All right, now what sign do you have here in the middle of your parentheses? Plus. So let's go ahead and add. Now, what does the A still have to multiply by?
B.
We already multiplied by B.
Oh,
C. So take your pencil and draw an arrow over here. So everything that was on the outside, which was just an A, has to be multiplied by everything on the inside. And A times C is AC. Use the distributive property to write an equivalent expression. Remember, equivalent simply means to have an equal expression. So something that equals the same thing as 4 times 2 plus 5. What number is on the outside of my parentheses? 4. So I have to multiply it by the first number, keep my sign, and then multiply it by the second number also. So who wants to tell me what to write? Shikari, go ahead.
4 times 2.
4 times 2? And 4 times 5? Good job. Okay, so just remember, whatever your sign is right there, you want to put that same sign over there. Okay, so very good. That is an equivalent expression. It's something that's equal to what that original problem was. Now, up in our instructions, it also said to check your answer. So we're going to check it working from left to right. Guys, what do parentheses tell us?
Do me first.
Do me first. Okay, so before I do anything else, I've got to do those parentheses. What's 2 plus 5? 7, and I'm bringing down multiplied by the number? 4. Okay, let's put our equal sign there, and now let's just go ahead and work this part out. What's 4 times 2?
8.
8 plus, and then what is 4 times 5? 20. Okay, now we are continuing to work. I want you to put your equal sign directly underneath it. See right here, you want to keep them lined up just because it helps us have nice, neat notes. Let's start from the left side, just the girls. What's 4 times 7?
28.
28. And boys, the right side, what's 8 plus 20?
28.
28. Guys, does 28 equal 28?
Yes.
Give yourself a little tiny check mark, and that shows us that your answer did check out. Who thinks they can come up with an equivalent expression? Kyla, what should I do?
Alright, so put an equal sign, and then 6 times 12 minus 6 times 2, and then box that in. And then under the 6 times 12 minus 2, you should put 6 times 10 equals 72 minus 12.
Okay, so as you can see, she did those parentheses first, and now on the right-hand side, what's 6 times 12?
72 minus 12.
Very good. Keep working it out.
60 equals 60, and then the little check mark.
That is correct. Any questions for her? Excellent work. Let's go ahead and try the next one. This one I'm adding in a negative number. I want you guys to try this one on your own. All right, equivalent expression. Alex, help me out. What should I do?
Put an equal sign. And then it should be negative 3. Parentheses 4 plus negative 3 parentheses 1. Negative 3.
Okay, there's only one thing here. It says plus minus. So what can I do to kind of separate that so I know it's a negative number?
Parentheses.
Okay, just put some parentheses around it. We know we're multiplying anyway, okay? So let's work from left to right. Alex, what do the parentheses tell us?
They tell us to add that first.
All right, add that first before we do anything else. What is that?
5.
And multiply that by?
Negative 3.
Good job. Let's work from left to right now. Negative 3 times 4?
Negative 12.
Good job. Plus?
Negative 3.
Negative 3. Okay, what do I do to my negative 3? Let's just put parentheses around it. Now, if I'm putting parentheses around this, does that mean I have to multiply that number? No. The parentheses are just kind of grouping it together so that I understand that's a a negative number, but you still are going to be adding those together. So, Alex, keep going. Starting from the left side, what's negative 3 times 5?
15. Negative 15.
Negative 15. And what's negative 12 plus negative 3?
Negative 15.
Does that equal each other?
Yes.
Very good job.
Gotta put a tiny check mark.
All right, give yourself a mini check mark. Any questions on how he did that? For this problem, we are working backwards, okay? So the first thing you want to do is figure out what number both of these expressions have in common. Which number is that?
5.
They both have a 5. So for this, we know that we're going to have a 5 on the outside of our parentheses. Okay, so I've already used up that 5 and I've used up that 5. So just read to me the left side. What does that say? What is left over? 3 plus 2, okay? So in these parentheses, it's simply going to be 3 plus 2. Because your whole goal is to make the left side equal to the right side. Landon, help me out. Let's do the left side first. 5 times 3?
15.
Plus, what's 5 times 2?
10.
10. Good job. Line up those equal signs. Let's do the parentheses first, which is 5, and multiply that by the number.
5.
Excellent job. Left side, 15 plus 10.
25.
And what's 5 times 5?
25.
Does 25 equal 25? Yes, it checks out. Very good job, Landon. Number 2, use the distributive property to evaluate the expression. So let's look at this right here. We want to kind of condense it or put it with the distributive property. What number do you see in both expressions it shares and has the same number?
5.
A 5. And since 5 is on the outside of these parentheses, we are going to continue to have 5 be on the outside of this parentheses, okay? So now I've used up this 5, used up this 5. Read me from left to right what is still left.
7.2 and 2.8.
7.2, not just 7.2 and 2.8.
Plus 2.8.
Plus, okay? So make sure if it had a plus or a minus, you bring that same exact thing down. So this right here, we've just used the distributive property to help us. Now, what do we do with our parentheses?
We add them up.
Add them up. What is 7.2 plus 2.8?
9, 10.
What is it, 9 or 10?
It's 10.
It is 10, okay? And then bring down your times 5, so what's our answer?
50.
It is 50. Okay, if you go back and look at your instructions, it said to evaluate it. You have one answer, therefore you have solved it or you have evaluated. What should I write next, guys?
You should write the equal sign, then 5, parentheses, and then 5, 6, plus 1, 6, and then parentheses.
Okay, guys, the parentheses, we've got to do this first before we do anything else. What is 5 6 plus 1 6?
6,
6 sixths. What does 6 sixths equal?
1.
The number 1. And what is 5 times 1?
5.
That is correct. Who got the correct answer all on your own? Okay, any questions for me? If you didn't, that's okay. Just erase it. Use the distributive property to find the missing number or the missing variable. So here we go. On the left side, I've got n times 7 plus n times 3 is the same thing as n times 7 plus
3.
3. Excellent job. Okay, so if you're thinking, I don't understand how you guys are figuring that out, you can see right here, this has an n and that has an n. Therefore, that's why we put the n as the outside thing. Next up, we multiplied by 7. You multiplied by 7. We added. The final thing left is to put your 3, and you want these to be equivalent, so that's why you put a 3 there, okay? If you did not get that, that's okay. Erase it and fix it. Problem B. 4 times 5 plus 4 times something is the same as 4 times 5 plus x. What should go in the blank?
X.
X. All right, so you can see right here, this 4 goes with this. And then last, you can see left is 5 plus blank, and this is 5 plus x. Therefore, you want this to go into that blank right there. So your correct answer is x. Any questions? Okay, this comes from 6.6. It says 10 plus negative 10 is an example of the blank property of addition. So let's look at our first one, the commutative property that we've talked about. That says you can what? You can move the numbers around. You can switch the order, and it's not going to change your answer. Is that what we've done in problem A?
No.
No. So we know it's not commutative. What's the key word for associative? Grouping. You can change the grouping of your numbers, and it's not going to change your answer. Did we change the grouping for problem A?
No.
No. Let's go to the next one. Let's talk about inverse. What's the key word for inverse?
Opposites.
Opposites. Is this right here in problem A an example of opposites?
Yes.
Yes, it says 10 plus negative 10, which opposites of each other, is an example of the which one?
Inverse.
That is the inverse property. Okay, that's why we want to memorize those clue words, because inverse means opposite. And this right here, those were opposites. Okay? Who got that correct? All right, very good job. Let's look at the next one, problem B. 3/5 times 5/3 is an example of the blank property of multiplication. Now, notice we've got multiplication here simply because that right there is multiplication. So that part at least makes sense of how to figure out what property it is. Now, let's talk once again. Commutative changes the order. Did we change the order of our letters in problem B or our numbers? No, that's not changing the order. Okay, this is a reciprocal, so that does not have to do with commutative. All right. Next up, associative. Did I change the grouping of this right here? No, I did not. Next up, inverse. Opposites. Are those opposites of each other?
Yes.
Yes, they are. With a fraction, the opposite is called the what? Reciprocal. As you can see, 3/5 and 5/3, those are reciprocals of each other. They are opposites of each other. Therefore, this is still the inverse property, but it was the inverse property of multiplication. Was there anybody who got both of those correct? All right, there were a few people. Very good job. Tonight's homework is a review of those kinds of properties. So I want you to go ahead and pull out a piece of paper, and I'm going to pass out a worksheet to you. Tonight's homework you are going to do on a piece of paper, but you'll use your worksheet just like you would your book.